the health and fitness space and anybody trying to make money in it has figured out that it's really easy to convince people that they have a problem and that the marketer has the solution to said problem. So it's a space where you really have to be wary of good marketing, because a lot of it is just that.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Better Basics podcast. I'm Matt Stone, as always, with my best friend, Dylan Waldhuter. What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm great. Yeah, not sure when this episode will get released, but it's opening day for baseball. Got my Brewers hat on. Got a $10 bet at plus 11,000 on Willy Adames to hit the first home run of the MLB season. So this episode was recorded last baseball season, so don't be confused by that. Don't be confused by my mustache. We've been putting in the work on this podcast for a long time. Hope you all are enjoying it. And now let's go double down on that Willy Adames bet for opening day on the 28th of March. I'm
rooting for you. I got into it late. I didn't get into it, but I'm rooting for you. I think that's so. By this time, everybody will know if you're a big winner or not.
That's right. Yeah, if I win, maybe we'll have I'll have like a podcast microphone, and we'll have increased our production value with the earnings.
That seems like a good one. All right, why don't you tell everybody what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about supplements. Supplements can be really fun. They can be super useful. They can be entirely useless, and pretty much everything in between. So we kind of want to go through the different ones that you see a lot of to maybe help people understand where there might be some value, where maybe there's some good marketing behind some things that are just kind of fleecing you. I think the health and fitness space and anybody trying to make money in it has figured out that it's really easy to convince people that they have a problem and that the marketer has the solution to said problem. So it's a space where you really have to be wary of good marketing, because a lot of it is just that. It's not so much really about any benefit it provides, but rather convincing you have a problem and that I have a solution to the problem that you'll pay for.
Yeah, and everybody who decides that they're going to get back into shape or decide they're going to start, they want to get healthy, whatever it is, we all know the things that we should be doing: eating well, exercising, getting sunlight, movement. But that's not as easy as going down to GNC and spending $250 on a whole bunch of crap that's going to optimize my day,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like, the supplement industry is meant to prey on people who are just getting into health and wellness. And, you and I have, a great mutual story about that, back when we used to live together when we were in college, about, us wanting to get our act together. And instead of, buying less frozen pizzas and hitting the gym a little bit more regularly, we went down to GNC and, bought the men's multivitamin that the guy at the store said we had to have. And, we ended up just pissing neon for a few weeks. And then when the bottle ran out, we never re-upped. And I mean, like, I'm not going to speak for you, but I didn't make me feel any better.
No, not at all. And I think we probably walked with our bag of multivitamins into the Cold Stone Creamery right next door and got with that like extra large I think it's called Birthday Cake Remix. It was delicious.
Yeah, Birthday Cake Remix was the best.
As if the supplements we just bought were going to counteract the effects of eating that massive portion of ice cream in some way, shape, or form. And so I think an important point to make is maybe it's inherent in the name supplement, right? The definition of supplement wrote it down. It's something that completes or enhances something else when added to it. So it's meant to be supplementary. It doesn't say anything about replacing. It doesn't say anything about substituting. And so I think it's important to think through that kind of context when we're talking about supplements. If you're going to take them, they should be things that are supplemental to the other healthy components of a good lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's a topic of conversation that always does come up really early in, in conversation with somebody, a new client or somebody looking to get back into shape. Well, what, and everybody's curious, well, what supplements do you take? And we're going to tell you guys the supplements that we take. And, you might be surprised to hear how little how few there actually are. We're not stack guys, we're not, we've tried them, we both tried our different stacks and, different ways that, we thought that we were going to hack our health. But what, I feel like you and I have both figured out is by just, sticking to a healthy diet and exercise plan is going to be the best thing you can do for your health. And then, like you said, those supplements are just to, fill in some gaps and to maybe, if you find out that you actually are deficient in a specific vitamin, mineral, or compound, it's a way that you can get boosted up a little bit.
Yeah, most beneficial and definitely the most cost effective. This shit can get so expensive.
So fast.
I've got I got a spreadsheet we used to share back and forth that kind of, when we were really into the supplement world, trying to navigate a lot of this, I think it outlines all the different stuff I had included in my stack. I'll see if I can find it, and if I can, I'll throw a photo of it in the podcast here for people to look at.
Yeah.
But it was way too much, and it didn't really do much.
Well,
And so,
and then you can't tell what's working. You can't
oh,
tell what's working. You can't tell what's not. And these supplements, if taken, without the proper dosages and without, the like without taken with the proper mindset, there are adverse side effects. These things
yeah.
aren't, they're not infallible. They can have some problems down the chain. But you said something before we started recording that really resonated with me, and it was the fact that there's no such thing as a necessary supplement.
Mhm.
These things are meant to do just that, as you've already addressed. They are meant to fill in the cracks. There's nothing for the average person that you need to be supplementing with. You can get by on just changing your diet and exercise routine, and you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Unless, of course, your doctor's telling you, you need to take this or that for some specific reason, then you should obviously follow their medical advice. I think none of this is intended to be medical advice. So we're
No.
offering you our perspective. This isn't us telling you to go buy or take any of this. We're just here to say this has worked well for us. This has maybe not worked as well. And here's why we found some of these things to be beneficial. Is that fair?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So I think it's important to get into a little bit before we get into the specific supplements, like the things that you need to be weary of. And we'll talk about the specific supplements that, we think are, BS later. But I guess just once you enter into this space, once you've decided that you're going to, to take control of your own health, the algorithms know, and you're going to start seeing advertisements for all of these different supplements popping up, and they're all going to have the solution to a pain point that you have in your life. It's very scary how accurate these algorithms and ad tracking services are getting. But it's the fact of the matter is, and we've said this multiple times on multiple episodes, anytime that somebody's leading with trying to sell you something, your red flag needs to go up right away. Because there is no supplement that you're going to buy that is going to make or break your your health and wellness. There are things that can boost, but they're not going to be the one thing. They're not going to be the secret.
No, I don't know who the quote comes from. Somebody has some quote that says something to the effect of it's really easy to sell anything that has science or history on its side.
Sure.
So to just add on to your point, I'd be especially wary if you have somebody who's some expert with all this science to support some problem that they consider to be being experienced by the masses. And so they spend 60% of their time convincing you that this problem exists. And then the other 40% of the time, they're providing some supplement solution to the problem they're convincing you that you have. That's the recipe in fitness and health with regard to supplements. You see it all the time. So I think beware of any crazy claims. Beware of anything that sounds way too good to be true. If it's true, it probably is.
Any advertisement that starts with my 7-year-old was starting to have these medical issues, so I spent the next 3 years coming up with the cleanest greens powder so that I could feed my 7-year-old, and now they're going to be on track to be an Olympian. You hear all of these claims and these remarkable stories and anecdotal evidence that says that why this thing is going to fix your pain point. But until you've actually done the work that is required to actually shine some light on what's going on with those pain points, I mean, it's not the easiest thing, but it is going to be the cheapest, and it's also going to be the most effective.
Yeah.
So anytime that you hear those too good to be true stories, anytime that you see a celebrity or athlete that's saying this is the thing that's going to make you jump higher, lift heavier, be better, just understand that person's being paid to say those things.
Unless it's Shaq and we're talking about icy hot.
Well, that's it. Yeah, actually, yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, a couple other bewares, and then we should get into the list. I think you always got to be careful of too much too, right? So too much of anything can be too much of a good thing can become a bad thing, right? And so if you're deficient in something, some of these vitamins, minerals, etc., that you can supplement with can be helpful. But if you aren't sure if you're deficient in them and a marketer's trying to convince you that you are, you might be actually overdoing it and then hurting yourself in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, you have to be really careful with some of this stuff as well. And then also note that the supplement industry is not well regulated at all. So oftentimes what you'll find when people will look into and do additional testing on different supplements, that they're not even what they claim to be.
Right.
That the percentage of protein in a protein powder isn't really as high as it's suggested, or that the amino acid profiles aren't as advertised, and that's because it's not all that well regulated. So quality
fillers, there's fillers that can contain heavy metals, and there all kinds of stuff. So that's going to be another thing if you are going to purchase a supplement, and some of these that we recommend you can start adding into your regimen, but still make sure it's from a reputable brand, something that you trust, or something that we've recommended, because we've done the research, and we've vetted a lot of these companies, or at the very least we are looking at things like their third-party testing to make sure that what you're buying is legit.
Yeah, and none of these people are paying us anything yet, so we're sharing this. This is just, these are the ones we like. These are the ones we've tried. These are the ones we know. If anybody out there wants to pay us to talk about it, we'd consider it. But again, not at the integrity of, I think, ensuring that there's really true value to them, and at least providing the context around, this is a nice to have versus a necessary to have. Most of these things, almost maybe all of them, are nice to haves. They're not necessary to haves.
Yeah, unless you're deficient.
I want to dive into the list. I want to say just up front, one of the things I really like about supplements as nice to haves is they can be really good for building good habits, and they can be motivating in a way, right? So the first thing we'll talk about is creatine.
Mm-hmm.
I love having my creatine right before my workout. It's something I can look forward to. It kind of gets me excited. I know that it has these benefits, and by pairing it up with that workout, motivates me a bit more to get into the gym. So
Mm-hmm.
they can be useful beyond maybe the kind of health benefit of them, but in thinking about even if there's some placebo effect that might be built into taking some of these things. And I'll highlight where I see that relationship playing out when I take certain things. But why don't you tell us about creatine? Creatine it's the king, right?
Yeah, I mean, creatine is the one thing that when people ask me about what supplements they should be taking, I ask if they're taking creatine, and unless there's any medical reason, why they shouldn't be taking it, it's not going to be a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Creatine is one of, if not the most studied supplements that's ever existed. It's been around for a heck of a long time, and it was mainly in that fringe strength training space. I mean, I remember when you and I were in high school, anybody that was taking creatine was doing
On
steroids, right?
steroids. Yes, it was a steroid.
Yeah, and for all, like, as far as we knew, it was steroids, and it was terrible for you. Besides making you jacked, they're not. It's not steroids. Creatine is an organic compound that we store in our muscle tissue and a little bit in our brain tissue as well. And it's something that you can get naturally through meat and seafood. Um, you can get enough creatine in your diet by via those products, but you got to eat a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was preparing for this. I was doing some research, and you would have to eat. So the highest concentration of creatine that I found in animal sources was herring, and in order to get anywhere from 3 to 4.5 grams of creatine, you needed to eat a pound of herring. Now, yeah. So most scoops, for people that don't know, most average dosages of creatine is 5 grams. But you will see, there's studies that reference, subjects taking 10, sometimes even 20 to 30 grams of creatine and seeing results. So, your 3 to 4.5 grams for eating a pound of herring is scratching the surface of how much you could be taking to optimize your health.
Yeah. What I think is super interesting about creatine now, and I take it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Creatine monohydrate. Any other branded marketed creatine is nonsense.
Esters,
Yeah.
liquids. No, it's just
Creatine
creatine monohydrate.
monohydrate. It's the most studied. Creapure. It's German manufactured. Is probably the best you're gonna find. I send it to my dad now. My 60, how old's my dad? I don't know, 64-year-old dad.
Mm-hmm.
Not only because of its benefits for muscle building and recovery, which is important as you age to maintain muscle for being able to continue to do things, but there is all sorts of research now on the brain, on improvements and benefits for brain function and prevention of neurological diseases. So
Mm-hmm.
we have dementia in our family. It's interesting to know that we're starting to realize more of these benefits. And I think you'll find creatine becoming more and more popular, not only for its muscle development benefits, but also some of these brain function and broader health benefits as well.
Yeah, so creatine was originally used for muscle recovery. And the way that people, kind of talked about it was it stored, it brought water into the muscle tissue, which now we know, and that was one of the criticisms too, was that it would you would hold water, so you'd feel bloated, was kind of one of the early critiques of creatine. We now know it does help with that water retention in the muscle tissues, but that leaves very quickly. So it's not something where you're going to have any, long-term excess water retention because of it. But it's not only helping with that muscle recovery and muscle building, but now, yeah, like you said, it's short-term memory recall. And then we're also seeing some really interesting studies where there was one study that I'm going to paraphrase, that they looked at some older, 60 and older patients, and gave them, I believe it was like 20 grams a day of creatine, and the anti-Alzheimer's metrics that they were using, they saw some significant impacts to that. So you don't necessarily need to be taking the 20 grams, but that 5 to 10 is a sweet spot. How much do you take on a daily basis?
5 grams a day. 5 grams.
Just 5.
Yeah. Whether I'm going to the gym or not, I just 5 grams. It's tasteless. I'll mix it in with some protein if it's a workout day and I want a protein shake. I'll just mix it in some water if it's not, and I just need to get it in. But yeah, I leave it right out on the counter, right by the sink, so I don't forget. And I take it. This is my number one supplement. I take it every day, 5 grams.
Yeah, so what I do, because I'm not as disciplined as Dylan, is I also have my bag, and I don't take it every single day, but I average out 5 grams a day for the week. So if I'm taking it every other day, I'll take 10. But I shoot for that 5 grams for the week. If you get the micronized version, it mixes a little better in water. But even the stuff that's not micronized, it's just fine. It's a little bit more granular, but especially if you do mix it in a protein shake, you're not going to notice it's there at all.
Yeah, one of the downsides historically to creatine was it caused people some gastric distress.
Mm-hmm.
If you get that micronized version, that alleviates that almost entirely.
Yeah.
You don't see that too much anymore with the way that creatine's evolved. So creatine
Yeah.
hydrate, 5 grams a day. If you don't get it in every day, what is that? 35 grams a week is where you want to be.
Yeah, and the other nice thing before we move on, why a reason why I think creatine is why I recommend it so freely is because, one, the price point is excellent. You're not going to find a cheaper supplement. You will see some creatine blends that maybe they have some carbohydrates in them, whatever. Just find unless there's a reason or unless you like it, just all you need is just pure creatine monohydrate. It should be cheap. It's not going to be something that's going to break the bank, and you can still get a really high quality product. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's why I love it. It's something that you can add to your routine, and it's gonna be pretty painless. It doesn't taste bad, and it's not gonna break the bank. So really, all around, number one, that's where I would start.
So another one on the things that can help side of the list, I think, is something that everyone's probably heard about, and that's fish oil or omega-3 fatty acid type supplements.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we need to spend as much time here, but I think we do know from the studies that inadequate amounts of the omega-3 fatty acids called EPA and DHA do indicate different negative health impacts, heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, etc. So ensuring that your omega-3s, specifically those EPA and DHA, are higher is important. So when you're looking for a fish oil, look for one that's high in EPA and DHA. I think cod liver oil is kind of well recognized as one that's of higher quality. But quality will be really important here. So maybe do a bit of research to ensure that you're taking a high quality fish oil. Also important to note that if you're eating fish, maybe you don't need to supplement it so much. So this is something that may be more important for people that don't get a lot of fish in their diet. I think different, as I already noted, potential health consequences that come with low levels of these fatty acids, but also some benefits, again, for exercise performance, for heart health, for brain function. So it's another, I think, really important one that so the way I practice this, I eat a can of sardines 3 times a week. I don't supplement with it at all. I found that to be about enough, but I've never really had it tested either to know. And this is something you can test if you wish to.
Yeah, I'm the same way where I'll eat a tin of fish, whether it's sardines, herring, anchovies, whatever, on a weekly basis, or like you said, 3 to 4 times a week, and then maybe I haven't made a grocery store run, so we're running low. Haven't gotten down to Costco to get the my setup of sardines. I always keep some fish oil on hand. I like cod liver oil because of its high concentrations of EPA and DHA. But there's tons of different types. There's krill oil, there's cod liver oil, there's all different kinds and you should do your own. This is something you should do your own research on to figure out which one might be the best for you. With fish oil, it is super important to make sure that the company that you're purchasing it from is doing testing for things like heavy metals. That's like the biggest concern that we're looking at with fish oil, right?
Yeah, especially fish. So that's why a lot of those smash fish, they call them, right? I think it's sardines, mackerel, anchovies,
Anchovies.
salmon, and herring, maybe.
Yep.
Um, those in nature are typically lower in heavy metals. So heavy metals in fish, things like mercury actually bioaccumulates up the food chain. So as a bigger fish eats a smaller fish, the concentrations of mercury sort of 10x every time a fish eats another fish. So when you get into the bigger fish, the tunas of the world, those can have really high levels of heavy metals in them. And if you're not getting a high quality fish oil, remember this industry is not all that well regulated. You could certainly have different types of fish oils present in those supplements and or in the manufacturing process itself may run into some issues around metals. And that's going to be true for a lot of supplements. I think a brand that I love and trust is Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Matthews' company, he has a fish oil supplement. He has a number of different supplements that are really well studied. I just think he does a really good job of not being one of those people that's trying to convince you that you have a problem in order to go buy his supplements, but rather just focuses on providing quality supplements that actually work as nice to haves for people in fitness that wish to pursue them.
Yeah, so, and Nordic Naturals is also another one, company that specializes in these omega-3 solutions, and they have all different kinds of pills and forms that different types that you can get it from, and from what I understand, they're a pretty reputable brand in that space. But yeah, I mean that's one where it wouldn't be a bad idea to just have a bottle on hand, but also definitely something that you can get through a diet change too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Eat a little more wild salmon. Try the tinned fish. I mean, sardines, it literally tastes like canned tuna. Wouldn't know the difference. It sounds terrifying. Every time I tell somebody about it, they're like, oh, gross. You can get them skinless, and they're really quite tasty and palatable.
Yeah.
The final thing I'll note on the supplements is sometimes people will complain about getting the fish oil burps. So if you are taking the fish oil, stick it in the freezer. It'll, one, help it last longer if you are kind of taking it intermittently, but also help with some of those burps that can come with taking a supplement like fish oil.
Killer. That's a good one. The next thing that we have to talk about as far as that's another one that I would say is essential for me. And I would say, essential for most people, and that's protein.
Yep.
Protein powders are, and this is one. I mean, we could do a whole damn podcast on types of protein, and maybe we will one day. Getting real, getting deeper into the different types and why we like what we like. But for us, and neither of us are vegan, so this isn't a problem. But whey protein is the tops.
Yeah, whey protein isolate, if you can find it.
Mm.
It has the most complete amino acid profile, which is what you're after. The isolate version has less lactose in it. So if you have trouble with lactose or find whey protein to be an irritant to your gut, that's another reason to look for the isolate. You can also try concentrate and different forms of whey. But whey is really the king. It's got the most complete amino acid profile. So if your gut tolerates it, that's where I try to go 99% of the time.
Yeah, and it's so important because prioritizing protein when you are training is massively important for muscle building and muscle recovery. Even if you're not training, prioritizing protein is still a great way to just naturally eat a more balanced diet.
Yeah, the amino acids are the building blocks for muscle, but they're the building blocks for other cells that are important for just general health as well. So it's important. I think we talked in previous podcasts about a target of roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of target body weight. And I think that's a really good target for people to think about. It's easy to remember. And we've already talked about the benefits that come with eating protein, in that it's satiating, helps you build muscle. It's generally pretty high in nutrients. So I'm a daily, almost daily user of a protein powder as well. If you are a vegan, vegetarian, or your gut doesn't do so well with milk product protein powders, you want to look for a vegan protein powder that has a blend of both pea and rice protein. So by combining those two types of plant-based proteins, you actually get something that's pretty close to the amino acid profile of a animal-derived whey protein.
Yeah, so to talk about that just a little bit more in detail, in order for in order for there to be muscle building to happen, you need all that amino acid profile. You need a complete protein. Vegetables, while they do contain protein, none of them contain a complete protein on their own, meaning you have to combine that vegetable protein or that vegan source of protein with another source in order to get that full, complete amino acid profile in order to actually build muscle.
Yeah.
So, and as Dylan pointed out, pea and rice, if you see a protein powder, protein blend with those two, you can safely assume that you have that, as close as you can possibly get to complete protein, right?
Yeah, you'll see others on the market. You'll see egg proteins. You'll see
Pumpkin.
soy proteins. But I really believe, we're our whole purpose here is to cut through a lot of the shit. Whey protein isolate, if you can find it. If you're on the plant side of things, a pea rice blend is going to be best. And look, a lot of these taste fucking good. Like for me, sometimes this is a great. You throw a little milk and ice in there with the water and the protein powder. You got yourself a milkshake. So it's a good little treat. The one I'm loving right now is, again, from Legion. It's their whey protein isolate. It's cocoa cereal flavored. It literally tastes like the milk in the cereal bowl after you eat Cocoa Puffs. It is so tasty, and it's better than, going for the ice cream or the cookies. If I get a little bit of a sweet tooth after dinner or around lunchtime, I'll throw my protein shake in there.
Yeah, and I like Jocko Molk, MOLK, protein powder. That one's great. It's all grass fed. You know, and I think Legion's is too.
Yep.
So, you know, high quality as far as the ingredients. And then I've been on the chocolate peanut butter, but I got strawberry coming, and I'm pumped about that. But yeah, I just do the same thing. A little bit of milk in with a scoop of protein. And yeah, it's delicious. And I mean, mine it's 22 grams a scoop. So pretty easy if you are doing, you know, I do a shake a day pretty much every day. And then on heavy training days, or on a day that maybe I'm not eating as much, I'll sneak in a second one. But that's actually a good, just quick caveat. You don't want protein shakes to be your only form of protein. You want to make sure that the majority of the protein that you are consuming on a daily basis is coming from actual foods.
You might want it to supplement your food-based protein, you might say.
You want to supplement it. Very good. Yeah, exactly.
Can you hear my dog is sleeping on the floor behind me? Can you hear her snoring?
No.
She's really snoring. I wonder if it'll pick up in the audio.
That's awesome.
All right. So yeah, I mean, protein powder is a great one. Another one that's near and dear to my heart because of a lot of the gastrointestinal struggles I've dealt with over time is fiber. It is insane how much humans undereat fiber, especially with the number of foods we eat that are just ultra processed kind of crap and convenient. So fiber is something, again, that you should really try to get from your diet as much as you can. And we've talked about that, and there's a number of places you can go for that: vegetables, starches, fruits, things like that. But you can't quite get there because it can be difficult. And I was recently at the doctor, and we talked a bit, and his recommendation for me, this doesn't mean it's for everybody, but for me was to try really to get to 40 to 50 grams of fiber per day. And that can be quite a bit. But fiber, we know now, has all sorts of health benefits associated with it. It helps you to take better poops. It gives you the healthy food for good gut bacteria, which can be really beneficial for you as well. There's a great book called Fiber Fueled that I read that I really enjoyed, that got into the details on fiber, which I'm not educated enough to speak eloquently on, but just know that there are some places you can go for this that are a bit more supplemental. So some of them are still food-based. Flaxseed, grinding up some flaxseed, chia seeds, adding things like that to yogurt or a smoothie. Just note, if you get the whole flaxseed, you do have to grind it into a powder, into a ground version of that to absorb it and make use of it. Otherwise, you'll just poop the seeds right out. That's less true for chia if the chias are moisturized, if they're like in the yogurt, soaked in water. Yeah, soaked. And another one is psyllium husk, which is a powder that you can buy, which is food-based. And psyllium husk can be really good if you have high cholesterol as well. It's been demonstrated to help with lowering of cholesterol levels. So
well, I think fiber in general, I've read, but I psyllium husks a little bit more effectively. But with the flax seeds, you can buy them ground as well. I mean, I buy them ground. Then you don't have to grind them up, or buy them whole. But yeah, just make sure that you're grinding them. Otherwise, you're not gonna get those benefits.
Yeah, so those are things that's an almost daily supplement for me as well. It's really more of a food-based thing. I mean, you can get things like, what is it, like Metamucil? There's other fiber supplements out there, but just this is a good conversation, especially if you're having any GI gut related problems, to perhaps have with your doctor and see what they think about ways to get more fiber into your diet, because it has been really helpful for me with regard to maintaining some more normality with the way I poop, really.
And that's a good place to start before something that we'll get into, which is probiotics. Why don't we actually, let's just talk about that next. Probiotics are something that are super hot right now. Gut health in general is something that's really uh, become in vogue over the last handful of years, which is good. That conversation is important. And, I know, especially for you, Dylan, it was a real game changer to look at your gut a little bit more in depth than, how we have in the past. But probiotics are a complicated, one of the most complicated uh, supplements out there, as far as the different types and offerings and styles. And, so there's something that, while, a probiotic is not a bad idea, it's something that you need to do a lot of individual research on and some testing. But before you go and buy an expensive probiotic, starting with some fiber, and then, you know probiotic foods like fermented foods would be a more cost effective and probably a more impactful place to start.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, probiotics can get expensive, and a lot of times they don't have enough bacteria in them, nor the delivery mechanisms to get the bacteria to the place in your gut where they really can work their magic to even be effective. So a lot of them aren't really all that effective. There's a few out there with some studies to support that they perhaps are a bit more effective, but I could not agree with you more that I think um, getting enough fiber, which is ultimately the food for this bacteria, and then ensuring that you're eating the foods that provide probiotic, which are the fermented, I mean, everything from yogurt, to um, fermented foods, kimchi, sauerkraut, etc.
Yeah, and with kimchi and sauerkraut, it's important, because sauerkraut, if you just go and get a jar of kraut that you would put on a bratwurst, understand that that's not naturally fermented, so you do not have the same benefits. You need to make sure that on the label it's something that is naturally fermented. So it's not something that they just added vinegar to make it sour. It's something that they actually let sit and let those natural bacterias run their course.
Well, the way to know that is just to check if there's vinegar in the ingredient list, right? If
Oh, totally.
there's no vinegar, then you know that it
Right.
had ferment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be the place I would start. I'm not going to toss out any specific probiotic brands. I've tried so many of them, and honestly, like, I don't. I feel as though my diet is so much better by just integrating those foods. But I'm with you on the fiber supplement. I mean, you can get that. Fruits are excellent sources of fiber, but also, like you talked about with the flaxseed and the psyllium husks and stuff like that. Start there, and then if you still are having some gut issues, a probiotic might not be a bad place to look into next.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out, I was remembering reading in that fiber fueled book a lot about short chain fatty acids. So
Mm-hmm.
so when you get the fiber in the gut, and then you have the bacteria that eat that fiber. Basically, the byproduct of that is these things called short chain fatty acids. And there's a lot of new research coming out that is showing how beneficial these short chain fatty acids are for health. So this kind of combination of probiotics and prebiotics and fiber foods, which typically have those prebiotics in them, it's really leading to a lot of potential positive benefit with regard to gut health.
Totally. And this is one where the more natural you can go with it, the better.
Yeah.
So the next thing that I know you and I both are a big fan of and use on a daily basis, as well as electrolytes. This is definitely something that is in the like to have category, not essential, but what I like to do is, I'll take my electrolyte supplement, I'll mix it with my creatine as my pre-workout beverage. Drink it before I get to the gym or on my way to the gym, or even as I'm starting out my workout. because a lot of times these electrolyte beverages are flavored. They got good flavors, and it's a nice, just a nice way to to get some extra water in. But it's important that you can drink all the water in the world, and the reason why electrolytes are important is because they are what they give your body to actually absorb the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they're nice to have. I think if you add some electrolytes, sodium specifically, with the creatine's actually absorbed better. I'd have to double check on that, but I think that's true. And as you noted, this is a nice to have. If you're sweating a lot, if you're working out pretty excessively, it can be really beneficial. It does really help with a good pump in the gym. I like to take them before going to the gym because, as you noted, it helps the cell kind of draw water to the muscle bellies, which in effect, when you're working out, makes your muscles look a little bigger. It'll give you that kind of filled out feeling in the gym. But yeah, it's not a necessary thing to have. I mean, you can achieve this by throwing a little bit of salt in your water in the morning as well. But
Yeah.
it can be a nice thing to supplement with.
Yeah, I use LMNT because it packs a ton of electrolytes, and they don't use sugar. You look at Liquid IV, which is a very popular brand right now. Their first ingredient is sugar. That's not necessarily, it's not something that should prevent you from buying it if you like it, but just something that's worth noting.
Yeah.
So that's what I like. It is something that I use pretty much every day.
If your blood pressure is high, you may not want to be supplementing with more sodium. If you're not eating all that good of a diet and you're eating a
Yeah.
lot of processed foods, you're probably getting enough sodium in your diet. If you're you're in this journey and you're starting to eat better and you're eating more whole foods and then you may not be getting enough sodium and some of these minerals in your diet. And so that is a place where I think I would start to look to some of these supplements by either salting my food better, adding a pinch of salt to my water, or looking to products like LMNT.
Yeah, salt's not necessarily the evil that people make it out to be. It is, it's a lot of times the foods that that are salty that tend to
Yep.
be the problem.
So the next one I
Uh,
have on here is greens powders. And
mhm.
this is super nice to have, right? And again,
Totally.
a lot of these are, and by super nice to have, I mean this is not super nice to have, as I mean super nice to have as in like way on the spectrum of nice to have versus closer to must have.
Right.
Um, and so, these are I like to use these very intermittently, perhaps when I'm traveling and not getting as much fruits and vegetables into my diet because of having to eat out or just not being able to have as much control over my diet. And so I might use a greens powder to sort of supplement the nutrients that I'm missing through my diet at a specific point in time.
Yep, that's exactly it. If you're lacking adequate vegetable intake, if you're lacking that diversity of plant foods, this is an awesome way to do it. They tend to be more expensive, and the other thing that why it's something that isn't on that like nice to have side of the spectrum is it doesn't do a whole lot for satiating your hunger. So you're getting all of these micronutrients, but you're not getting the fiber that comes along with actually eating those foods, and then you're also not getting and with that fiber you're not getting as full. So it might be a convenient way to add some of those micronutrients, but it's also potentially going to just allow you to to be putting more of those foods that you might be trying to cut out into your diet because you're still hungry. So if you can get these from a more natural source, you're going to get the fiber, and you're also going to be more full, which means you're not going to be as likely to smash an entire bag of potato chips.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So yeah, these shouldn't be a replacement for eating healthy. You shouldn't be substituting your greens powder drink for the vegetables on your plate on a daily basis.
I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here that I can't believe I've waited this long to let out, because the thing that pisses me off with a lot of fitness influencers in this space nowadays is they're showing you their breakfast, and it's a protein shake and a scoop of whatever. They show you their lunch, and it's just chicken breast and broccoli, and then they show you their dinner. It's another protein shake and these greens powders and peanut butter protein and all of this crap that they could just enjoy their food if they just ate real food, enjoyed that process. They're going to be so much better off. It's going to be more cost effective, and your body's going to respond better to it. Yeah. So these things are nice to have around, and when you are having an off week, you need a little kickstart. They're good to have in the cabinet. But if you're relying on a greens powder to get your micronutrient diversification, then you got to start looking at what you're actually eating, because most of this should be taken care of just by having a balanced, robust diet that honestly, like, you should enjoy the hell out of.
Let's let that one breathe for a minute. That's a brilliant point.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, clip that.
Which leads us maybe in. Well, do you have one more point to make on the green?
No, I was just going to bring up the last thing that we.
Yeah, the last thing kind of highlights the point you just made even further, which is around. We'll call this category the things that you're deficient in, with some doctor guidance or advice, right? So there's all these different vitamins and minerals that we get from our diet and our food, and for different genetic reasons or otherwise, it's possible that you may become deficient in some vitamin or mineral, right? An example of this that's really common is vitamin D. We live in Wisconsin. This winter's been fucking horrible. It hasn't been that cold. We haven't had that much snow, but it feels like every day has been cloudy and gray.
Mm-hmm.
So we get vitamin D from the sun. We spend 6 months a year in the cold and dark and in our houses. It's likely that a lot of people in Wisconsin and north of the equator, pretty far, are perhaps struggling with vitamin D deficiency, especially in the winter. But the important point to make around any of this, whether it's vitamin D or vitamin C or magnesium or anything you might be able to supplement with, is ensuring, to the point that we made earlier, that you're actually deficient in it if you're going to supplement with it, right? Too much of any good thing can become a bad thing. And so a really good way to do this is the next time you go to your doctor for a physical, if you feel that you have some interest in exploring some of these different vitamins or minerals that you could supplement with, to ask if you can get some blood work done to confirm whether or not it's something that you need.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, before you start buying any supplements, the place to really start is to see if you need them, so find out if you're actually deficient in something. That's a good, way to know. But then even if you are, figuring out how you can incorporate that naturally into your diet would be the place to start, because your body's going to react to those compounds better if they get it through natural sources like food.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah. So let's just fly. I'm gonna have somebody come in like 2 to 5 minutes.
Let's do this. We'll do a part 2 to this episode, because we wanted to cover some of the supplements that you see a lot that are marketed pretty heavily that are probably bullshit. And we have a list of, 6 or 7 of them here that we want to highlight and kind of cover what to be careful of, especially around these supplements. And so we'll do a part 2. We'll call this the things that you can probably find some benefit from. And we'll follow up with another episode that kind of covers the bullshit to be aware of.
I love that. And just so that, if you guys are looking for more in-depth resources, we've got on the Basic Trainer website, we have guides to all of these supplements that we recommend. So brands that we trust, a little bit more in-depth information about why it might be good for you. So you can go check that out over there. We've got all of those, the basics to all of these all of these guides, and it'll help you if you're not sure, what brands to look for. If you don't have anybody that you can trust in the space, we've got some good resources for you over there. We just appreciate you guys listening and showing all of your support. If you like what you're hearing, check us out, the Basic Trainer on Instagram, and just check out for the next episode. Dylan, anything that we got to tell the people before we get out of here?
No, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Keep giving
Yep.
us a listen. Let's talk about this stuff. So if you have thoughts, questions, let's engage on it.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, everybody. Thanks so much.